It is a universally terrifying moment. You're standing in the shower, staring at a clump of fallen hair in your hands, convinced that you are rapidly going bald. But losing hair in the shower is standard human biology. A healthy scalp is designed to drop between 50 and 100 hairs every single day. Those fallen strands belong to the telogen phase of the hair cycle. They are essentially dead club hairs that disconnected from your scalp months ago, resting loosely in the skin. Normal hygiene routines, like scrubbing your scalp, do not cause baldness. They simply dislodge the loose strands that were already scheduled to fall. Your shower drain is simply catching the strands scheduled for exit. The actual damage to your hairline is happening entirely out of sight, deep within the skin. To understand true hair loss, we must travel beneath the skin's surface and look at the biological factory responsible for building the hair, the follicle. Clinical hair loss centers on the failure of this internal factory to produce a replacement strand after an old one falls. When the internal mechanisms of the follicle shut down, the natural cycle breaks. Hair falls out, but nothing grows back to take its place, leading to a scalp that becomes visibly thinner over time. Stopping this progression requires recognizing the internal shutdown early, well before the root dries up completely. A healthy hair strand spends the vast majority of its life in an active growth state known as the anagen phase. At the very base of the root is a structure called the dermal papilla. It acts as the command center, pulling a rich supply of blood and proteins from your body to continuously construct the hair shaft from the bottom up. Under optimal conditions, this biological engine runs nonstop, growing a single strand of hair for 2 to 5 years. However, this prolonged growth engine operates in a fragile ecosystem, and it is highly vulnerable to specific hormonal changes circulating in your body. For millions of men experiencing pattern baldness, the biological villain disrupting this ecosystem is a hormone byproduct called dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. Biology has a strange sense of irony. DHT is the exact same hormone that fuels a thick beard and body hair, yet it acts as a localized toxin to the follicles on the top of your head. This is known as the androgen paradox. These DHT molecules attach directly to androgen receptors at the dermal papilla. Once locked in, they act as a biochemical brake, severely constricting the follicle's blood supply. This process is called miniaturization. DHT forces the follicle to prematurely exit the anagen growth phase. With each new cycle, the physical root shrinks and slashes the anagen phase from years down to months. The hair gets thinner and weaker until it can no longer push through the skin. But here is the scientific reality that most people miss. These severely shrunken follicles are not dead. They contain live stem cell progenitors that are simply trapped in a resting state. Because the root is merely sleeping, if you remove the biochemical brakes, the growth process can actually be restarted. To know if you can still grow your hair back, you have to determine your dormancy threshold, finding out whether your follicles are just asleep or if they have suffered permanent cell death. A balding area on the scalp that looks smooth and glossy indicates the skin has already healed over, permanently sealing the dead follicle. But if running your hand across a thinning patch reveals texture, or if microscopic peach fuzz is still visible, the biological pathway remains open. That tiny texture means your stem cells are alive. You do not have to passively accept genetic hair loss, and a biological rescue is possible. Rescuing these hairs requires a two-pronged scientific approach. You must neutralize the DHT saboteur in the scalp and forcefully provide the nutrients needed to restart the anagen growth phase. This reference table shows clinically studied botanical ingredients proven to stimulate dormant follicles. Extracts like amla, or Philanthus emblica, supply heavy doses of vitamin C for collagen production, while hibiscus delivers the exact amino acids needed to directly nourish the dermal papilla. By utilizing these targeted treatments to block androgen receptors and feed the root, the follicle shifts out of its dormant state. It widens, regains its blood supply, and begins producing strong hair again. You do not have to passively accept genetic hair loss. By actively managing the local environment of your scalp, you give those dormant roots the precise signal they need to wake up. You cannot erase your genetics, but when you master the biology of your own hair cycle,